Hi, this is Mr. Manley. In this video I'm going to look at evaluating what is called a piecewise function for different values of x. What makes a function piecewise? And the word here is piecewise. Piecewise. And we can tell a piecewise function as soon as we see this bracket here. So once I see that bracket, I know I've got a piecewise function, and that's a function that's broken up into pieces. So there are different pieces of the function. Here all of the pieces are constant values. I could have a piecewise function that has polynomial values for the pieces, for instance. I could have like x squared plus 2 for values of x greater than or equal to 0, and say x minus 3 for values of x less than 0. So just notice the difference between those two that I've got here. A function with, these are like, again, constant values, and then in this function I've got polynomial values. So it's a piecewise function. We're going to evaluate the piecewise function for specific values of x. So here notice I've got the function g of x, and I want to evaluate that function at g of -1. And so we should know that this x corresponds with this -1. So I'm wanting an x of -1, and I'm going to take this all the way over here and say g of -1. So that means my x value is -1. Now with the piecewise function, the piecewise function identifies which piece should you use based upon the value of x. Looking for the x value of -1 here, so this is -1, and then looking for it up here. So where's -1 up here? Let's look for it. -1, okay, so there it is. X is less than or equal to -1. So equal to -1 is -1. So I want to use this piece. And what does this piece say? It just says -1. So that's it. G of -1 is equal to -1. Let's move on to another one here. 0.75. So I want to look for 0.75 in my domain values up here. So looking for 0.75, that's 0 to -1, so those are negative values. All right, so here we go, between 0 and 1. 0.75 is between 0 and 1, so that's the piece I want to use, and that piece says the output is 1. And then for g of 1, I've got right here, again, equal to 1. X is equal to 1. So this is the x value. So I look for my x values up here that match, and it's 1. So the output is 1. G of 1 is 1. All right, so let's go back to that case that I had made earlier, and we'll just do it right on this page here. Make myself a new piecewise function where f of x is equal to x squared plus 2 if x is greater than or equal to 0, and x minus 3 if x is less than 0. And say I want to know, what is f of 3? So 3, I'm looking for up here. Now 3 is greater than 0, right? So I've got an x that is greater than or equal to 0, so I'm going to use this piece of the function, and I'm going to plug in the 3 for x. And that's 9 plus 2 is 11. Then say I go, what's f of -1? F of -1, so -1 is less than 0, so I'm going to use this piece of the function. Plug in a 1 for x, or -1 for x, And negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. And that's it. That's evaluating a piecewise function for different values of x.